Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about my experience with ADHD medication, but I'm going to be answering your questions. So I've asked you guys to send me in some questions about ADHD medication, and I'm going to answer the majority of them because I am bombarded with a load of questions from parents, from fellow ADHDers about my experience with ADHD medication. But I'm sometimes a little reluctant to answer them because I don't want people to think this is the only way to kind of treat ADHD. There are so many other options, but for me, medication is the only option that has worked, and I'm not ashamed to speak about my experience, and if I can share that with you guys and help you guys along on your journey, I'm gonna do that. So yeah, today's video is all about ADHD medication. But first, if you can remember to smash me a big thumbs up down below and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I will forever be grateful. So yeah, let's get on to the video. So before we start, I just want to give you guys a quick disclaimer. This is not the only way you can treat ADHD, cope with ADHD. This is my own experience. I'm not a doctor. This is not an official, this is how ADHD med works for everybody, because it's not. This is my journey, my experience. I'm just answering your guys' questions that you asked me because I feel like it would have helped me on my journey with meds when I first started, and that is what this video is for. This is not a video to say everyone should take ADHD medication, because ADHD medication is not going to work for everyone. It does not work for everyone. So this is just if you have started meds or you're thinking about starting meds. This is my experience, and I'm just going to share my experience by answering the most frequent questions I get about medication. So this is just a little bit of information before we start. I am 24 years old. I have been taking medication now for coming up 3 years. I am on Elvance, which is 70 milligrams, which is the limit, the max in the UK. That is the dosage I take. Yeah, so that's just like what I'm on, how old I am, and how long I've been on it. That's like the main pieces of information that I feel you guys need to know before we start answering the questions. So the most asked question I get is, how does ADHD medication benefit me, or how has it, or you know, what does it make better in my life? So for me personally, ADHD medication has benefited me a lot, and it has had a major impact on so many different areas of my life, and here are just a few of the main kind of topics, areas in my life that it has been able to help, where it has benefited me. I've gained control over my thoughts, and that has never happened before. I am one that really struggles with intrusive thoughts, and when I am on my medication, I'm able to kind of gain control and dominance. I've been able to be like, I'm the boss, I'm not thinking about that, and I've been able to like almost redirect myself into thinking more positively rather than allowing these negative thoughts to take over. And that is something that has majorly impacted my life negatively, but now I have that even just a little bit more of control. It's been able to honestly help me so much in so many different areas of my life, and that's the first one that, as soon as like when I answered this question, it was the first thing that popped into my mind was I've been able to gain control over my thoughts, and I can't tell you how much of a positive impact that has personally had on my life, honestly. So the next thing that I feel like has benefited from meds is how my emotions don't seem so explosive or so unpredictable. I've learned how to regulate my emotions by, I know it sounds really funny, but I can feel my emotions. I'm able to process them because I now have time to process in my mind, rather than like just like not even thinking through my actions or like thinking through, well, how do I feel? I now have the time and the space in my mind to kind of process the thoughts and the feelings I have and the emotions. They don't seem to blindside me as much anymore. I'm not saying they don't at all, because that would be lying to you. There are some days that I feel like meds just don't work at all, and I question whether or not it's worth taking them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that they don't work every single time I take them, and that depends on a huge variety of different things, but there is a question I'm going to answer a bit later on that I can explain a little bit more. But yeah, my emotions don't seem so uncontrollable or unpredictable or explosive. I definitely have more control over my emotional regulation now. So before starting meds and even before being diagnosed, I really struggled with being able to take information in. Like, people would talk to me and say, I need you to do this, this, this and this, but my mind would just freak out and it almost like ignores everything, all the instructions, everything like that, and I'm just like blank. I never really understood or knew how to process a lot of information. But that's another thing that meds are able to help me do, and that is process information. I don't know if it's a skill that I've learned through being medicated, or it's just the meds help me in general. I'm not entirely sure, but it's something that since being medicated I've been able to do, and that's process information. Like, honestly, I didn't know I could do it. I've spoken to you guys about this one before loads of times, but I've been able to build a better relationship with my family, and that was something that was hugely impacted by undiagnosed ADHD. It was ruining my family, and you know, I've spoken about it before, so I'm not going to bore you guys again, but it was ruining my family. And since being medicated, I have worked really, really hard on building a better relationship with each one of my family members, like my sister, my dad and my mum. It's hugely impacted like my relationships with them. I'm now able to go out on family days out and not feel like I'm a burden, or you know, when I do have a meltdown in public, I don't ruin their day. I don't become aggressive towards them. Like, my family are able now to help me through rather than me take it out on them. I've definitely learned how to regulate my emotions, which has really helped on my journey to kind of bettering my relationship with my family. That's the main thing that I can honestly tell you that's changed, because I'm so incredibly thankful to be able to have these medication, like, because without that I could have lost my family completely, and I haven't, because I've been able to work through a lot of my emotional dysregulation and my uncontrollable mood swings. I'm able to control that a lot, and that is also because my family now have the knowledge of what ADHD is and how to help, and we've worked together to better our relationship, and it's incredible, honestly. So the next kind of common question I get asked is, did I notice that my meds stopped working over time? Yes, it was 100%, this question, no doubt, like 100% yes. I actually reached out to my doctor after 6 months of being on Elvance. I was on a lower dose at the time, but when I spoke to my doctor, she was like, I was waiting for you to ring up and say that they had stopped working, or that you don't feel they work as much anymore. She explained it all to me, and she generally did say to me that it was normal and it's to be expected. She almost kind of said your body doesn't become resistant to them, like they won't stop fully working, I don't believe, but your body does become naturally resistant to them. And you know, that's when you either think it's not for me, or you can take a holiday, like a break holiday, your medication holiday, but that has to be supervised by a doctor. Don't just stop taking meds. She definitely helped me through that particular time of medication, because I was very worried that I was like, oh god, they've just stopped working. That wasn't the case. You know, I did take a little holiday, a little break from taking meds, and that didn't really help either, and that is when I decided to up my dosage, because it wasn't working as efficiently. But yeah, that was a personal choice, and the doctor was very much behind that. So yeah, please don't ever up your dosage or stop taking anything until you've spoken to a professional. But yeah, I did notice that all the traits that I'd mentioned I'd worked on and had been able to work through started to like come back, and I was like, oh my god, and it came back with a force. They just weren't working as efficiently, so yeah, I decided to up my meds, and that really helped me personally. So yeah. So the next question that I'm commonly asked is, did you or do you have side effects from your ADHD medication? And the super important thing to remember is every single medication has a bunch of side effects. Whether they're like most common, or like super rare, they all have a bunch of side effects. Paracetamol, antibiotics, steroids, you know, painkillers, antidepressants, they all have a bunch of side effects. And yes, I personally did have some very, very tough side effects that made me kind of want to stop completely taking ADHD medication, but I decided to push through, and I'm so glad that I did. So some of the side effects I had personally was loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of bloody headaches, and they were like migraine, intense headaches. I was feeling really thirsty a lot. I felt very fatigued. I felt quite numb, and I felt very unsure. A lot of the time I felt a bit on edge. And I've also had this horrible side effect which comes with my specific medication that I'm on, Elvance. So it was called the Elvance crash. So when you take ADHD medication throughout the day, obviously it starts to wear off, and when it started to wear off, I really felt it, you know. I went into this like plummet, and I crashed, and it was like, oh my god, and everything came back. Trust me, the first, I think it was a good few months, I felt like I knew when it was wearing off, and I would plummet and then just go pooh, and it would knock me, and I would get headaches, I'd feel on edge, anxious, and I'd felt really irritated, and my appetite was completely gone. Like I didn't want to eat anything. Food made me feel sick. I just didn't want to drink any either, but I was so thirsty, and yeah, it was a real hard time to adjust, but it was the adjusting period for my body, and I feel like my body was just getting used to the fact that I had, you know, I was taking stimulants because they were the only thing that was going to help me with my ADHD. So I knew that if I didn't push through them, I had no other option. I tried therapy. So the thing that got me through was this, you know, I've seen how beneficial they are throughout the day. I can live with this crash at the end of the day. I can deal with it. But over time it got less and less like dominant, and I was able to just work myself through it. And yeah, now I don't have any side effects, thank God. I do have a real less appetite, but that's been okay for me because before I definitely binged eat a lot. But like I say, there are so many side effects for each and every medication. You just have to work through it if you can. If not, maybe medication isn't for you. That is okay. Always seek help for starting medication, for stopping medication, and if you feel like the side effects are too intense, definitely speak to a doctor. You may need to lower your dosage or completely stop the meds. You know, there's no, oh, I'm weak if I can't get through the side effects. No, it's not that at all. I was able to work through them because mine weren't as bad as what some people's could be. So yeah, I was able to work through it. I had the support, you know, and luckily enough, where I had to pay private, my doctor was on tap all the time. I could reach out to her and speak to her about my medication. Some people aren't as lucky as I was to be able to get a private doctor. You know, I couldn't afford to get a private doctor, but I had no choice to get a private doctor. But I was very lucky that I had a great doctor, and she was able to help me through it. But some people aren't as lucky. There are so many reasons why you can't work through side effects. It doesn't mean that you're weak or that, you know, you failed. No, get that thought out of your head. There's none of that. Some people just suffer worse with intense side effects. Some people don't like the feeling of like headaches and stuff, and that is okay. You're not a failure. There's other things out there for you that could work even better for you. So I personally find this question really hard to answer, and it is, how do you know if your ADHD meds are working? So I kind of was like, but I think it's really hard to explain unless you have experienced medication, ADHD medication. It's just a totally different feeling, and you're able to feel different yourself. Like as soon as I first started taking Elvance, it was only a very low dose. It was on 30, I think it was 30 milligrams of Elvance, and my mind was quiet. Like I was like, is this what being normal feels like? It blew me away. That was the first thing, and I was like, oh my god, these work. I knew that they were working because of many different things. I was, you know, like I've told you, I went back to college and I passed my maths exam. I would not have been able to do that without the ADHD medication, so that was a big indicator for me that they do work. There's just some things that I can't answer for you guys because it's a personal thing. Each and every person who takes ADHD medication will experience a different level of like, does it work? Does it not work? You know, everyone will experience something completely different, but this is my experience, and yes, I was able to like feel that they were working because I was proactively trying to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do without meds, and that gave me the, you know, the chance to pass and sit math. Like, that was incredible. I would never have been able, I couldn't do that before medication. I failed many times, but now I have a grade 5 in math because of medication. Like, yeah, it works personally for me, but it's a personal thing. I can't really answer this question unless, you know, you could come in my head and experience it. I don't know how else I can explain it, but you will know if it works for you. Trust me, you will definitely know. So the next question I get asked quite frequently is, do you have to take ADHD medication every single day? And the answer is no, because the thing is, everyone is different. Again, I choose to take my ADHD medication every single day. You know, there are some doctors that have told me I shouldn't, and there are some doctors that tell me, you know, if it works for you, great, do that. But I always stick with what my, you know, the lady that diagnosed me said, and she was very much, if it works for you, take them every single day. If they don't, only take them when you know you're going to need them. So yeah, you don't have to take your meds every day. It's definitely a personal choice, and obviously if you have health conditions or stuff like that, you know, it's all going to be completely an individual plan for you. So again, I can't really answer that question, but for me, I do not have to take them every day, but I choose to take them every day. So the next question is, how long do ADHD meds work? So like I say, again, everyone's experience with medication is going to be different. You know, it's totally unique to you as an individual. You know, like I say, meds don't work for everybody, and that could be for a variety of different reasons. You know, stimulants make some people's ADHD worse, whereas it's made mine a lot better. It definitely doesn't cure it. Medication itself is not a magic pill. It's not like Jack and the Beanstalk, where you know, you get these magic pills and everything seems all like great. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. Medication is a unique experience for each individual. You know, they last, for me personally, on a good day, they last maybe 6 to 8 hours, and that is great for me because I don't like, you know, it works perfectly for me. You know, 6 to 8 hours, that's great. But like I say, when I'm on my period, if I take them, they probably only work for 2 or 3 hours. It doesn't have a huge impact for me on my period, and it's totally different for everyone. Yeah. So another question I'm asked is, how long after being diagnosed did I start medication? And the question is 2 days. Like I say, remember, I was privately diagnosed. I didn't go through the NHS because I was on the waiting list for 2.5 years, and I just had enough. So I went private, and obviously when you go private, you get a private prescription, and I just went and paid privately for the prescription, and I started 2 days after being diagnosed. I know that when you're diagnosed with ADHD on the NHS, there's a different, a completely different process, and you can be waiting months. But for me, privately, it was 2 days after. But yeah. So another question I have been asked is, what was it? Oh god, I keep forgetting what it was. Is there anything I had wished I had asked the first time medication was prescribed? So basically, is there anything I wish I would have known before taking meds? Like a lot of you guys know, I am a hypochondriac when it comes to my health. I have real bad health anxiety, and medication was not ever an option I wanted to take. I don't even like taking paracetamol when I've got a headache. So yeah, medication I didn't personally feel like I wanted to do, but after speaking to the doctor there and then, you know, I decided I'd give it a go, and she generally did talk me through all the side effects and how rare some of them are, and like she told me a lot about other people's experiences, the good and the bad, and I made a decision, you know, a couple of hours after being diagnosed that yes, I wanted to. She gave me the prescription to either, you know, take it in and get the medication, or just take it home, think about it, and if I don't want it, rip it up, and that's it, you know. Another question I get asked is Elvance better than Adderall, whatever I don't really know, some other brand, Adderall? Yeah, I think that's the brand. The question is, I have absolutely no idea. I have never tried another brand of medication. I am extremely lucky that Elvance was the first and the only medication I have tried for ADHD. Adderall and Ritalin or something like that. I don't know. I don't have a clue. I can't answer that for you. Maybe someone else can, but I can't. I've only ever tried the medication I'm on. So yeah. So So I really hope that you guys have learned something from this video. You know, I hope I've answered some of your questions about ADHD medication. Obviously I can only answer a few of these questions at a time because otherwise we'd be here for years. But if you would like a part 2, then please let me know down in the comments, and just send me your questions on either Facebook or Instagram, and yeah, I will put them into my next videos. You know, if I get a lot of questions and like loads of interest, then I will definitely think about making this into a more regular kind of series of you know, question and answering kind of about my medication journey. So yeah, just want to remind you that medication is not the only way to treat ADHD, to cope with ADHD. There are so many other options. There's non-stimulant medication if that's what you want to try. There's counselling, cognitive therapy. There's so many different things, so definitely reach out to a professional if you feel like you need help with your ADHD. So yeah, thank you so much. Remember to comment down below if you want me to do a part 2. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!